In the last movie, we looked at how the rectangle, rounded rectangle, and ellipse tools worked. In this movie, we want to take a look at the polygon tool, the star tool, and the flare tool. Before I use any of these tools, I just want to point out what we learned in the last movie applies to all of these tools as well, such as the Option or Alt key to drag the shape out from the center, the Shift key to constrain it, the space bar will allow you to move the object as you draw it. With that being said, these tools do have some unique characteristics, and I'd like to share them with you now. If we come over here and highlight the Polygon tool, the Polygon tool does just that. It draws polygons. If you click and drag, you'll notice right now I'm drawing out a triangle. If you want to increase or decrease the number of sides, you can use the arrow key on your keyboard. Now, the default shape that you'll draw with this tool is a hexagon. But again, you can increase or decrease the number of sides by using the up arrow key on your keyboard or the down arrow key on your keyboard. And that's all there is to it with this tool. And if you want to move it while you're drawing it, hold down the space bar, you can hold down the Shift key to constrain it. It has all of those options. And if you click once, you get the dialog box where you can determine the radius numerically and the number of sides. So all of those features that we looked at earlier apply to this tool as well. Let's come over and choose the star tool. The star tool, of course, will draw stars. If you click and drag out, you can hold down the Shift key and it will straighten up the star. If you take a look at the star as you're drawing it, if you hold down the Option key on the Mac, Alt on Windows, you'll straighten out the star. Essentially what you're doing is aligning the shoulders, at least that's what Adobe calls it, and it's essentially making a more acute star. If you want to increase the number of points on the star, use the up arrow key on your keyboard. To decrease it, use the down arrow key on your keyboard. There is an interesting option here, and that is if you hold down the Control key on Windows, Command on the Macintosh, essentially those shoulder points will anchor down as you click and drag out. So that's how you can really create a more obtuse or a more acute star. Obviously, if you want a smaller acute star, just draw it larger, then shrink it down. That's what I would do. But those are the options for the star tool. And finally, we have the flare tool, which does just that. It creates a flare, much like a lens flare. If you click and drag out, you'll create the flare. If you use the up arrow key on your keyboard, you'll increase the reflection. If you use the down arrow key on your keyboard, you'll decrease the reflection. When you let go of the mouse, the flare is created. This obviously has a very specific use. You'd be using it to create a flare effect. That's exactly what the tool is designed for. Other than the flare tool, the other two tools that we looked at behave much in the same way as the first three tools that we looked at. Again, if you select the shape, you can control its appearance in the Tools panel and also in the Control panel. If you want to change the fill color or the stroke color, you have that ability.